Hello everyone, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. So today on 13th of April 2021, we are going to analyze the Hindu newspaper and we are going to see the most important articles from the Hindu newspaper today. So these are the articles that I have listed. These articles are important for the mains exam of UPSC, and the articles that are mentioned over here, these are important for the prelims exam of 2021. So let us quickly look into the first topic and let us understand what is important in this article. So as you see that the first article, headline of the first article reads that not on the same page at sea. Not on the same page at sea. So we need to understand about like what is the context in which this particular article came in news and how it is relevant for your UPSC examination. Okay. So let us understand what is the context. Recently what has happened, these ships, the ships that you can see over here in this sea, these ships belong to the United States of America, and they have carried out a freedom of navigation operation in the nearby the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, nearby the Lakshadweep Island. So this particular freedom of navigation operation that was carried out by the US Army, okay, was carried out in the Indian Ocean region in the exclusive economic zone of India, but they did not take prior consent from India. Okay, so India understands this particular thing as a violation of the violation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Okay, so India understands that like United States of America has violated, okay, the clauses of the UNCLAUSE. UNCLAUSE stands for United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Okay, so in that perspective we will understand in detail about this article. So let us see how this article is relevant for you. Okay, this article is very important under international law, and like it is important for you under General Studies paper 2. Under General Studies paper 2 we have a heading, okay, like international relations. Okay, so this is important in that perspective. So let us understand what has happened. Okay, so as I already said that recently the United States of American Navy, okay, their Navy has conducted a freedom of navigation operation nearby Lakshadweep Island, which is part of the exclusive economic zone, okay, for India. So some of the people, okay, from India have criticized this particular exercise that was carried out by US Navy, and they said like this particular exercise is violative of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Okay, so that was one standpoint. And at the same time, if we talk about this particular United Nations Convention, UNCLAUSE, okay, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, under this there are various various points, and in that point those points have been like those points have been understood by the United States of America as like freedom of navigation, absolute freedom of navigation. So there are two articles. One article is article 56. Okay, one of the article is article number 56, another article is article 58. Okay, article 56 and 58 of part 5. Okay, in part 5 of the UNCLAUSE, in part 5 of the UNCLAUSE, okay, says like the United States of America says that article 56 and article 58 in part 5 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea grants the United States of America the freedom to navigate in the exclusive economic zone of other countries. Okay, so as per this particular thing, the United Nations United States Navy, US Navy has conducted freedom of navigation operation. They have conducted freedom of navigation operation. So this is freedom of navigation operation. Okay, so they have conducted freedom of navigation operation in the seas in the Indian Ocean region. So why they have conducted such operations, it is important for us to understand, and at the same time we also need to understand like whether it is in the interest of India or it is in the interest of United States of America, or are we developing any kind of rivalry between US and India. Okay, So it is important for us to understand the context in detail. Okay, recently, as you know, that Chinese Navy have been conducting various operations in the South China Sea region, and they have entered into waters, okay, of some coastal countries where the Chinese government should not be having any interference, but China has entered into those waters and they have conducted similar operations there. So the thing is, as you know, the relations between India and the United States of America is all-time high now, means the relations are very close now. So the thing is, although the US has conducted freedom of navigation operations here, but the thing is, it is a way for United States of America to signal to the Chinese government that their ships will be able to freely navigate in the South China Sea as well. Although this particular exercise in itself is considered by Indian diplomats as violative of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, but at the same time, okay, there was no hostility statements by either by the United States of America or by India. Okay, so this is the context in which it was in news. But the thing is, it talks about a geopolitical issue, the emerging geopolitical trends, okay, in the South China Sea region as well as in the Indian Ocean region, okay. So now, if we talk about what is the relation between India and US, the relations are all-time high. They are very, supportive of one another. But the thing is, relationship between China and some of the coastal states in the South China Sea is not good enough, and those coastal states are finding it difficult, okay, to counter China in their assertiveness in the South China Sea region. So this article is important for you, and you may get various points over here to write your answers related to international relations when it comes to India-US and India-China relations. Okay, so having understood this article, let us quickly move to the next topic for the day. Let us understand what the next topic talks about. Okay, so let us see what this heading is. Okay, so this particular article says India's South Asian opportunity. Okay, the heading itself gives us some information, right? So it says India's South Asian opportunity. This particular heading gives us information that India is itself a South Asian country. Okay, India is a South Asian country, and India is soon going to have an opportunity to play a vital role in the South Asian politics or South Asian geopolitics. Okay, so we will understand what is the context in which this particular article was set, and before this, let us understand why this article is important. This article is important under General Studies paper 2 under international relations. Okay, under international relations. Okay, so here this article highlights about SAARC. Okay, SAARC, and it also highlights India's relationship with South Asia, and specifically with Pakistan. Okay, and specifically with Pakistan. So this is the context in which we are going to understand this article today. So let us see what this article highlights. This article says that Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan and China has recently stated that both countries are willing to make greater ties with one another, but at the same time there are some reservations. Okay, what are the reservations? These reservations has been highlighted by the Prime Minister of Pakistan. They have highlighted that if the issue related to Kashmir is resolved, then all other things can be resolved amicably between India and Pakistan. And at the same time, Indian government also understands that there are some regions in in Kashmir that is under the occupation or under the control of Pakistan, that we know as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Okay, and the Indian side of the Kashmir is known as India occupied Kashmir by Pakistanis. Okay, so the thing is, recently the government of India, in 2019, on 1st or 5th of August 2019, the government of India had abrogated Article 370 from the Constitution of India, and that had like withdrawn the autonomy status from Kashmir. So as of now, Kashmir is a union territory that is directly under the control of the central government, and apart from this they have created a separate union territory of Ladakh. Okay, so that is a issue that is being taken by Pakistani government as like violative of the rights of the Kashmiri people. But the thing is, that part of the Kashmir is Indian Kashmir. Okay, so we cannot do anything about like what the Pakistanis are thinking. But at this point of time, this particular article takes the context of India's relationship with Pakistan, and it highlights that now this is the right time for India to actually assert its its presence in the South Asian region, and this particular assertiveness of India may help in the revival of South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And this article also says that South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation was not working well only because of the strained relationship between India and Pakistan. Okay, so the relationship between India and Pakistan is very much strained. That's why like this particular organization, okay, that has the potential of growing to an enormous enormous amount or to an enormous height. But the thing is, this particular organization has not been making proper progress only because the relationship between India and Pakistan has not been congenial or has not been good historically. So that's the reason. So this particular article says that if these two countries come together willingly to cooperate with one another on various issues, right, of export and import, and if they together think of reviving this particular organization, then the organization will prosper to a greater extent. Okay, so this is all about this article. Having understood this, let us understand the next topic for the day. So this is the next topic. We are going to discuss about this particular topic, and let us see the headline, what this headline says. Okay, this headline says that Northeast citizens faced racial discrimination amid pandemic. Okay, so this headline gives us a lot of information, but before this let us understand what is the context in which this particular article is in news, and we will also understand how it is relevant for your exam. Okay, so this particular article is very important under social issues, and social issues is a part of general studies paper 1. Okay, so this article will help you to answer questions related to discrimination, okay, in India, and it will help you to answer questions in GS paper 1 related to discrimination in social issues. Okay, so we are going to discuss in detail about this article, and before this let us understand what this heading what information does this heading gives us. The heading says that Northeast citizens faced racial discrimination amid pandemic. Okay, amid pandemic means during the coronavirus lockdown period, and even after the lockdown period, there are many northeastern people, right, in the northeastern states in India. There are many people who are residing in other metro cities in India, like in Delhi, Mumbai, okay, Calcutta, or like other such Chennai, okay, so Pune, Hyderabad. So these people from the northeastern region are staying in various metro cities in India. Since their facial structure or their face color resembles with the Chinese people, so that's why these people had to face a lot of discrimination. Okay, so these people were not many metropolitan cities like Delhi, Pune, Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai, etc. Okay, these people were not able to file any file FIR in police stations because police themselves denied them that we are not going to file any FIR on behalf of you. So that was one part of discrimination. Apart from this, whenever they were moving from one place to another place, okay, many people have used abusive languages against these people who come from the northeastern states, okay. And the thing is, people have synonymously used, okay, coronaviruses to name these people, like whenever people from these Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, if they have seen people from northeastern states, some of these people have addressed them or named them as coronavirus is coming, okay. So this has led to a wide like social discrimination to these people, okay. And this particular study was conducted by this particular organization, which is known as Indian Council of Social Science Research, okay. It was conducted by Indian Council of Social Science Research. And the thing is, this particular Indian Council of Social Science Research has conducted a study on racial discrimination and hate crimes against people from northeastern states, and they found that northeast India seamlessly fits an Indian imagination of Chinese person. It simply means, like in the mainland India, if we talk about mainland India or central India, here these people have certain kind of imagination about Chinese people, and according to their imagination, the northeastern people also fit into that imagination of being a Chinese people, okay. So that's why there was wide scale discrimination against people of northeastern India. And this particular study was conducted by this organization, Indian Council of Social Science Research, under the National Law University, Delhi. And they have found that acts of racial discrimination against people from northeastern states increased after COVID-19 outbreak in 2020, okay. So they say they have also given like statistical data to actually highlight like what are the different kind of racial discrimination that these people have faced, okay. So according to their report, it is reported that 78% is the share of people from the northeast who believe that physical appearance was the key reason for prejudice, okay. In this society, there is a prejudice, there is a set notion that if people look like this, they may be Chinese people, okay. So because of this, 78% of northeastern people believe that it is their look on the basis of which there is prejudice in this society. And the same study says that 32.3% is the share of the incidents which go unreported across the country, okay. So there are 32.3% of such incidents that go unreported, like people do not report. They may have faced racial discrimination, but at the same time they did not report. So such number of cases is approximately 32.3%. Then apart from this, 60% is the share of persons who said their studies and work were seriously hampered by such experiences, okay. 60% of these people, okay, from the northeastern region who are staying in metropolitan cities, they said that their studies and work were hampered because of racial discrimination. Then 34% of share of persons who face the common issue of refusal by the police to file first information report, okay. So 34% people who were surveyed, they have said like their FIR were not registered by the police agencies. So related to this, there is a very important information in this article that you can use to actually write an answer related to racial discrimination in GS paper 1, okay. What that information is, that information says that MP Bej Barua committee in 2014 recommended amendments to the IPC, okay. So there was a committee formed by the central government in 2014. Name of the committee is MP Bej Barua committee, and that particular committee has recommended that Indian Penal Code or IPC must be amended by creating new offences under section 153C and 509A to deal with the comments, gestures and acts intended to insult a member of a particular racial group. Okay, so this MP Bajbarua committee that was formulated in 2014 has recommended that, you know, like section 153C and 509A must be amended to include, okay, you know, comments, gestures, acts intended to insult a member of a particular group as crimes, okay, under IPC. And it also suggested to make such offences as gender neutral, cognizable and non-bailable, with imprisonment extendable up to 3 years or 5 years with fine respectively. Okay, so this is a very important information that you can use to write an answer in, you know, GS paper 1. And apart from this, they have also given, you know, statistics about like how much, you know, discrimination was faced by northeastern people in different metropolitan cities like, you know, Chennai, Pune, Delhi, Hyderabad and Bengaluru. They mention that, like, you know, there is one particular metropolitan area, you know, offensive and abusive languages were reported to be most common across all the 6 cities. Okay, they were most common, and they said, this report said that the highest number of incidents was reported from Mumbai itself. Okay, highest number of incidents were reported from Mumbai itself. So having understood this topic, let us move to the next topic now. Okay, so let us understand the next topic. Let us see what this topic says. Okay, then we will understand the context. Okay, the heading says save the deal. Okay, so they are talking about a particular deal. So we will understand what is this deal about and how this is important. This particular article is important under General Studies paper 2, that too under international relations. Okay, international relations. Okay, so this is important under General Studies paper 2 under international relations. What deal they are talking about? They are talking about joint comprehensive plan of action. Okay, this is also known as JCPOA. This stands for joint comprehensive plan of action. Okay, so we need to understand what is joint comprehensive plan of action and why it is important for us to save this particular deal. Okay, so joint comprehensive plan of action is a, you know, agreement between different countries, okay, about, you know, Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Okay, so this particular article will help you to understand a lot of issues. Okay, so the thing is, what has happened, as you know, that, like, you know, this nuclear thing, okay, so atomic energy, so it is a dual use thing. It can be used for civilian purposes and it can be used for military purposes, like, you know, using like uranium or these nuclear materials, you can generate power, and at the same time using these things you can create nuclear bomb. Okay, so it happens like if you enrich the nuclear material beyond a particular threshold level. So the thing is, Iran was trying to enrich the you know, their nuclear capacity beyond 20%. So if you know, beyond 20% enrichment happens, it will lead to, you know, making of nuclear bomb and all. So the thing is, various countries are opposing the Iran's move to enrich their, you know, nuclear capacities. So the thing is, this particular deal was initially signed by Barack Obama. Okay, so under Barack Obama administration. So Barack Obama was the president of the United States of America. So Barack Obama and, okay, means like United States of America and Iran has signed a comprehensive agreement that is known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So under this, what they have done, they have come to an agreement that Iran will not enrich its nuclear capacities above a particular threshold that may so like this was the agreement. But what has happened, so Iran was not, Iran was totally adhering to this particular Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. But after then what has happened, there was a regime change and Donald Trump came into picture. He became the president of the United States of America. After he became the president of USA, he has unilaterally withdrawn the United States of America from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Okay, and he has imposed embargo or sanctions against Iran. So under the sanctions, Iran was not able to carry out its like external trade with other nations freely. Okay, so it was like curbed by the sanctions placed by the United States of America and its allies, and most of the funds of like Iran was stuck in various other countries. So Iran was under severe pressure. Okay, but the thing is, it was unilaterally withdrawn by Donald Trump. But what has happened recently, there was another regime change. Now Joe Biden has become the president of USA. And Joe Biden is putting effort to save this particular deal, so that like Iran again signs this particular deal, and Iran again adheres to the principles that are mentioned under this deal. Okay, but the thing is, Iran at this point of time, Iran has a different version altogether. Iran does not talk about signing this particular Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action again, but the thing is, Iran says that like US should withdraw all the sanctions that it has placed on Iran. That was the thing. Okay, and now they are planning to have a meeting in Vienna. Means all the partners, there were many partner countries that have that were part of this particular Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So the thing is, Vienna talks between the remaining members of the Iran nuclear deal. They are China, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, Germany and Iran. Okay, so these are the 6 key players under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. They are China, Russia, United Kingdom, France, Germany and Iran. US is not here because US has withdrawn itself from this particular thing, and after then Iran has started enriching their nuclear material again. Okay, so that's the thing. So the talk is still going on, means like these countries are going to come there, and so the thing is, it has raised hopes of revival of the agreement from which the then President Donald Trump unilaterally withdraw the US in May 2018. As I already said, this is known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and these countries, like there was initial round of talks between the European Union and Iran, and European Union has said that the talks are on the right track. Okay, so the thing is, the US wants Iran to end the uranium enrichment and centrifuge development programs and return to the 2015 agreement. Means this particular agreement was signed in the year of 2015. Okay, initially. So the thing is, while Tehran demanded US to lift all sanctions imposed by Mr. Trump and still enforced by President Joe Biden, the agenda at Vienna therefore is to produce a roadmap for revival of JCPOA by addressing these 2 critical issues: Iran nuclear enhancement program and American sanctions. Okay, so on this particular issue, the talks are going on. We don't know how it will end up. I mean, on one hand, the Donald Trump has put sanctions on Iran, and at the same time, the President of United States of America now, Joe Biden, has not lifted those sanctions. Iran wants that all the sanctions should be taken away. But like USA wants that like Iran should adhere to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action agreements, and it should not enrich its nuclear capacities beyond a particular threshold. Okay, so this is the issue on which they are going to discuss further we still have to wait to see how these negotiations at Vienna is going to turn. Okay, so that's all about this particular topic. Having understood this, let us understand the next topic for the day. Okay, so this is also important. Okay, so this is associated with the previous topic that we discussed. So this topic says that Iran blames Israel for nuclear plant outage, pledges revenge. Okay, so what has happened? Here you can see a picture. This is the picture of a nuclear facility. Okay, this is an underground nuclear facility that is located in Iran. It is located in Iran, underground nuclear facility. Recently what has happened? Okay, there was a power outage, means like, you know, power did not come for some time over there, and at the same time there was a, you know, minor explosion in this particular, you know, nuclear facility in Iran. So there was a minor explosion also. So, you know, Iran has blamed that this particular operation in their facility was carried out by Israel. Why Israel has carried? Because Israel thinks that once Iran becomes a nuclear capable state, then Iran may use its nuclear power to actually, you know, devastate Israel from the map of the world. Okay, so that's the thing. So Israel does not want that Iran should develop their nuclear capacities beyond a level. Okay, and at the same time Iran wants to go ahead with the nuclear enrichment program. Okay, so recently there was an attack. I mean, like, it was not a direct attack by military, it was a cyber attack, and using that cyber attack they have, you know, carried out a minor explosion in this particular nuclear facility. Okay, although, you know, this particular nuclear facility is known as Natanz nuclear facility. It is located in Iran. This Natanz nuclear facility is located in Iran. Okay, so although the Israeli government, okay, have denied any involvement in this particular activity, but, like, you know, there are press in Israel, means like the media has widely reported from Israel that Israel has itself orchestrated a cyber attack in the nuclear facility located in Iran. Okay, and the thing is, one of the very, I mean, like, very state of the art intelligence agency, means like very reputed intelligence agency of Israel is known as Mossad. Okay, so there are stories about Mossad, like what kind of activities they have done, okay, in the past. So it is a very highly reputable intelligence agency in Israel. So the thing is, Israel has not officially claimed responsibility for this particular cyber attack in, you know, Iran's nuclear facility that is known as Natanz nuclear facility. But at the same time, there are rumors that this particular thing may have actually been carried out by Mossad intelligence agency. Okay, however, Israeli media has widely reported this particular thing. Okay, so this particular, you know, attack by Israel over Iran further strains the relationship between Israel and United States of America. Why? Because historically United States of America and Israel were close allies, and United States of America was helping, okay, it was a big brother type of Israel. But the thing is, Israel does not want Iran to carry out any nuclear enrichment. And if we talk about the recent talks that we have discussed, you know, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So the President of the United States of America wants that, like, that Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action should be reworked again, so that, like, you know, it should not go ahead, the Iran should not go ahead with any kind of nuclear enrichment. But at the same time, Israel wants that no agreement should be signed at all related to Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Nothing further should happen in that regard. So the thing is, there is a minor difference in opinion of the Israeli Prime Minister and the President of the United States of America. So that's why, okay, the relations between Israel and United States of America may be strained in the coming days. Okay, so the attack was further strains relationship between the US, which under President Joe Biden is now negotiating in Vienna to enter the nuclear accord, and Israel, whose Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to stop the deal at all cost. Okay, so Israeli Prime Minister wants that this particular deal should be stopped at all cost. Okay, and Israel will continue to defend itself against Iran's terrorism. So this was the statement made by Mr. Netanyahu, who is the Prime Minister of Israel. Okay. So Iran says that the Zionists wanted to take revenge against Iranian people for their success on the path of lifting sanctions. Okay, so Iran says that Iran is trying to lift all sanctions from itself, through this particular joint comprehensive plan of action. But at the same time, they blame Israel that they are planning the things so that sanctions may not be lifted from Iran. So that's the thing. So having understood that topic, let us understand the next topic for the day. This is also very important article. Okay, so let us understand what this article says. This says a second chance for Nepal's young democracy. Okay, so a second chance for Nepal's young democracy. So we need to understand what is happening. Okay, the entire article over here is about Nepal and its democracy, and this topic is important from India and its neighborhood relations perspective. So it is important from General Studies paper 2 that talks about India and its neighborhood relations. As you know that Nepal is a neighbor of India. We share border with Nepal to a greater extent. Okay, Nepal also shares border with China. Okay, like Tibetan region in China. So in that perspective, this article was there. Recently what has happened, okay, the Prime Minister KP Oli of Nepal, okay, the Prime Minister KP Oli of Nepal has assumed greater power in Nepal by undermining the Parliament of Nepal as well as the courts of law in Nepal. Okay, so he has assumed greater power in Nepal, and that is widely criticized as well. That assuming dictatorship type of power by undermining all political functionaries or institutions is not a good thing that the Nepal is witnessing now. So this particular article says that recently what has happened, instead of there was a provision of no confidence motion in the constitution of Nepal, but that no confidence motion thing was diluted by the Prime Minister KP Oli, and how he has diluted those provisions are also mentioned in this particular article. Okay, so it says that instead of incorporating the provision of a no confidence motion in its true spirit as a multi-party democracy, Nepal gets an unusual clause. Nepal has got Article 100 Clause 4 in its new constitution that allows no confidence motion only 2 years after the formation of the government. Means once a government is formed, no confidence motion cannot be brought in the first 2 years. It can be brought only after 2 years of the formation of a new government. Okay, and even this can happen only when 1/4 of the total number of existing members of the House of Representatives may table a motion of no confidence in writing that the House has no confidence in the Prime Minister. Okay, so Article 100 Clause 4 actually dilutes the provision of no confidence. And how it dilutes the provision of no confidence? On one hand, it says that once a political party is formed at the center, this thing, no confidence motion cannot be brought for 2 years period, and after 2 years it can be brought only after 1/4 of the total strength of the House. Okay, signs a no confidence no confidence motion that says that the House has no confidence in the Prime Minister. Okay, so these are two stringent provisions, so that makes the introduction of a no confidence motion very difficult. Okay, so this particular clause, Article 100 Clause 4, is widely criticized, and at the same time Article number 100 Clause 5 is even more perplexing, which necessitates the motion of no confidence shall also indicate the name of a member proposed for the Prime Minister. Okay, so the thing is, Article 100 clause 4 should also indicate like who should be the alternative Prime Minister, okay, in case this particular, I mean, no confidence motion is moved. Okay, so these are the clauses under Article 100 that is being widely criticized. And they say like in Nepal we have three leading parties. They are Nepali Congress, Maoist Center, and Janata Samajwadi Party. So these are the three parties that are leading parties in Nepal, and being a multi-party democracy, Nepal should not have such clauses. Okay, they say that like undermining the political institution is not healthy for our democracy that is trying to thrive. So the thing is, so this particular article says that all party consensus government seems the only way to break the deadlock and ensure stability. Okay, so that's the thing. So this article actually talks about what is presently going on in Nepal and how the politics in Nepal is very uncertain. Why the politics in Nepal is unpredictable or uncertain. And they say that like whenever something happens in Nepal, so they blame the outside power. They blame India and China for any kind of things that is happening in Nepal. And at the same time, when it comes to taking credit, only the existing political party, or means like the party that is in power, they take all the credit. When it comes to blaming, they blame India or they blame China for their fate. So this is the thing. So the author says that the best way forward would be in giving democracy a good chance. For now, this can be made possible by the political parties alone. So they say that all political parties should come together and they should try to restore the democracy in its true spirit and sense. Okay, so this is all about this particular article. Having understood this, let us move to the next topic for the day. This is again very important topic. It may be important for your prelims exam. You just need to understand that like what is happening in this case. Okay, so recently what has happened, the Supreme Court has dismissed a plea to convert INS Virat into a museum. Okay, so INS stands for Indian Naval Ship. Okay, so this ship that you can see over here, this particular ship, its name is INS Virat. Okay, so INS Virat. So this is 67-year-old warship. Okay, so the thing is, what has happened, there is a group, like we will understand about this particular case. Okay, so there are two groups. One is known as Sri Ram group. Okay, on one hand, then we have environment NVTech Maritime Consultant Private Limited. So these are the two groups that are rival to one another in this particular case. Okay, so the thing is, what has happened, this is 67-year-old warship, Indian naval ship INS Virat, and this particular warship was decommissioned by Indian Navy. After it was decommissioned by Indian Navy, what has happened, this ship was purchased by this particular group that is known as Sri Ram group, and they have purchased this particular ship so that they can now break this particular ship and use the metals in this ship for other purposes. That was the main thing. But the thing is, there was a hurdle for the Sri Ram group even after purchasing this particular ship. The hurdle was created by NVTech Maritime Consultants Private Limited. What they have done, they have filed case against the Sri Ram group in a high court, in the Bombay High Court, if I am not wrong. Okay, in the Bombay High Court, yes. So they have filed a case in the Bombay High Court, and the Bombay High Court has allowed the petitioner or the NVTech Maritime Consultants to approach the government, to approach the Ministry of Defence and represent their case, their case. So they have, what they have done, they have approached the government, and Ministry of Defence has dismissed, saying that we cannot entertain your case, so we have already sold it, so they can do whatever they want, with the ship. But the thing is, these NVTech Maritime Consultants Private Limited did not file a case against the refusal of the government in Bombay High Court or in the Supreme Court of India. So after then they have directly moved the Supreme Court of India that this particular ship should not be dismantled. This ship must be made a museum. It must be made a maritime museum, following the practice of various other nations. Okay, in many other European nations, once a ship is decommissioned, it is generally made a maritime museum, so that like tourists can visit those places for tourism purposes and all. But the thing is, the Shriram Group that has purchased this particular ship, they want to dismantle this ship further, so that metal can be used for other purposes. So the Supreme Court of India has has held a bench, and that bench was headed by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Bobde. So Justice Bobde has said that it is up to it is at the ship is at the disposal of Shriram Group. They have purchased, they have paid huge amount to purchase the ship, and now if they want to dismantle the ship, they can dismantle. So the Supreme Court of India has dismissed the plea that was filed by the NVTech Maritime Consultants Private Limited. Okay, so and before this, what has happened, this is the final thing that has happened with this case, but earlier on February 10, the court had ordered a stay on the process of dismantling the ship at an Alang yard in Gujarat. The carrier was brought by Shriram Group, okay, in a bid. The 67-year-old iconic warship was towed to the breaking yard after over a 3-decade service in the Indian Navy. Okay, so this ship served in Indian Navy for 3 decades, for almost 30 years. Now this ship is 67 years old. Okay, so Shriram Group had purchased this ship, and this ship was in their brickyard in Gujarat, but they could not do anything because of the cases that was lingering. Okay, so recently the Supreme Court of India has given its final verdict related to this particular case. So having understood that topic, let us move to the next topic and let us understand why this topic is important. Let us see what the heading says. The heading says retail inflation quickens to 5.52%. Okay, so in this perspective, we need to understand what is inflation, what is retail inflation, and which organization releases data related to inflation. Okay, so this topic is very important under Indian economy perspective, and you can expect similar questions in your prelims exam. So you need to understand what is inflation. Inflation is general level of rise in prices in goods and services. Okay, when in an economy over a long period of time the general level of price of goods and services increases, it is known as inflation. So the thing is, inflation has increased so much to 5.52% quickly. Okay, so that's why this particular article was in news. And in this perspective, we need to understand that the data is released by the National Statistical Office. Okay, it is released by NSO. NSO stands for National Statistical Office. So National Statistical Office is an organization that releases data related to inflation. Okay, so they have said a lot of things about inflation, like how retail inflation has increased, how electricity was the only sector to register positive growth of a meager 0.1%, while manufacturing output has gone down by 3.7%, and mining has gone down by 5.5% as per the index index of industrial production. So this National Statistical Office releases data with reference to index of industrial production, and under that index we have 8 core sectors. Okay, so they have given data related to these 8 core sectors. So these data are not that important for you to remember, like what is the percent with which inflation has risen, or what is the percent with which the output of a particular core sector has gone down. The thing is, you need to understand the broad things, like what is inflation, okay, and like which organization releases the data related to retail inflation. It is released by National Statistical Office, and you need to understand about index of industrial production and how many core sectors are there in the index of industrial production and all. So this article also says that 29 months high is the inflation. So the core inflation jumped to a 29 months high of 5.96% in March 2021 from 3.95% a year ago and 5.88% in February due to demand and increase in the commodity prices. Okay, so the thing is, they have also named a person like Aditi Nair. Aditi Nair is the principal economist at ICRA Limited. Okay, and Aditi Nair has termed the core inflation near 6% as unraveling, but added that the decline in the prices of vegetables such as onions as well as reversal of the base effect was expected to dampen the food inflation to around 2 to 2.5% in April. The index of industrial production numbers suggest that the recovery of industrial volumes lacks conviction. Okay, so the thing is, they say that there is a lackluster production. What do we mean by lackluster production? They say that the trend of recent months reinforce the view that the uptick witnessed in months of September and October was more due to a combination of festive pent-up demand, and we are still far from witnessing a sustained recovery. Okay, as you know that Indian economy has gone very down during the lockdown. So like the GDP growth was seen 22% negative. Like GDP was growing at a minus 23%. So after then, in October to November 2020, we have seen a like increase in the demand in the market, and that time was a Diwali season. So that increase in demand in the market was because of festive seasons. Okay, so it was demand led recovery in the economy, but that was not a sustained demand led growth. So they are saying that like we should still wait for the for the economy to recover to a sustained level, so that like once the recovery is happening, that recovery can be sustained for a long period of time. So this article says growth pattern of primary and intermediate goods, two leading indicators of industrial production, are pointing towards a lackluster industrial performance in the short to medium run. Okay, so this is all that this particular article says. You just need to understand what is inflation, like which organization releases data related to retail inflation, which organization releases data related to wholesale inflation, and what is index of industrial production, how many core industries are part of index of industrial production, what is food inflation or headline inflation. These are the topics that you should understand. Okay, so that's all that I had to discuss with you for the day. If you want to learn more, you can regularly watch these videos, and it will help you to understand the things in a better way. Okay, so that's all that I had to discuss with you for the day. I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you.